Welcome, December 29th, 2024, year of our Lord. I welcome
you. Using free speech to free minds.
So, I wonder how everybody's doing today. We got a few things today to go over, and I look forward to that. Anyway, so I want to go over a few things that happened, but first let me let a few people jump on. There was a story with, really it was Vivek, and then poor Elon had kind of got sideswiped because of Vivek's nonsense. But, you know, Vivek, the thing that voters have to understand, especially Trump voters, is that Vivek really hated MAGA. He didn't like Trump. Because I was following him, and he said he was calling Trump pretty much every name in the book, calling his voters basically idiots. Kind of like what Tucker Carlson was saying, which is sort of odd that now, you know, Tucker Carlson gets a box seat at Trump's, basically at his convention. It's like nobody's listening to what these people actually say. So Vivek basically was saying that, look, you know, us poor corporate owners, we have to bring in foreign workers, you know, because you're too stupid. You know, you're too dumb. You watch Saved by the Bell. You know, maybe you watch Seinfeld or Friends. And so, hey, Amy, how you doing, hon? And so this is what he was saying. And so, of course, thank goodness that Trump voters spoke up and really handed Vivek his ass for saying that. But here's the truth. The reason why corporations like bringing in foreign workers is not because you're stupid, ignorant, watching Saved by the Bell, Seinfeld, or Friends, okay? It's because there are massive tax breaks when doing so, right? Social Security tax, unemployment tax, Medicaid, Medicare, right? You get so many tax incentives that the American worker cannot compete with bringing in these people. So, like, I know people who have had to actually train their replacements, okay? When these companies were going to ship their jobs overseas, but not only that, now you got to train them to replace them when you're bringing them into the country, okay? So we need to set the record straight on why they want to bring in these foreign workers, okay? Because it's cheaper too. Now, we have so many Americans right now who have a degree and can't do nothing with their degree, right? Because what did government do to education? They ruined it, right? They ruined education because everybody's got to have a degree, right? Once the government got involved with backing the loans, giving out education, it's like everything else the government touches, they ruin it, okay? So what happens is now we have a bunch of Americans loaded tons of debt, okay? They could easily work those jobs. But let's just say for sake that Vivek was right, that Americans are just stupid. You know, they're watching all these sitcoms, and you know they've just been polluted. don't people like Elon or Jeff Bezos, they don't have the money to train people, right? Is that what they're saying? That it's so cost prohibitive that Americans are so hard to hire? They don't even want them? That they would rather get from a pool of foreign workers? That's ridiculous, right? It's hard to make the argument that you can't afford to pay your people good wages and that you can't afford to train American citizens, okay, when you're shooting rockets up in space every other day, you know? I mean, it's kind of ridiculous, right? The richest man on the planet can't afford an American worker, right? Vivek, who's paid for by the pharmaceutical industry, he doesn't want Americans? Now, don't forget, anybody can go back and look at what Vivek said, okay? This man hates you, which, to be honest, the duopoly hates you. I'm talking about the parts of the parties that go into smoke-filled back rooms, cut deals with their corporate masters, Big Pharma, Wall Street, right? The people who get the big defense contracts, okay? That are racking up $36 trillion in debt. They don't like you. They tell you all the time. Here we have a person who came out. He's a, our country was nice enough to let Vivek's family into our country. And this guy's got the gall to basically call us a bunch of idiots. Well, go look. Hey, if we're all stupid, then go where you think all the smart people are. That's what I'll say, right? Go where you think it's better. Go there, So this is for tax incentives. It's a bunch of nonsense, and I am totally against it. I want to hire American workers for American jobs. Now, if a foreigner comes to our country and they compete on an even playing field with an American and they come legally, great. I have no problem hiring that person. That's perfectly fine. But once the government starts picking winners and losers, that's when we have to say, as Americans, that's not capitalism, that's wrong. You're not going to hear Sean Hannity say that. You're not going to hear AC360 say that, right? Because they're just going to tell you they're protecting these people, right? So I wanted to start off with that. Does anybody have any questions? Okay, I'll move on. So Jimmy Carter had passed away. God bless him. He made it to 100. We all hope that we could make it to 100. Although, I remember when my grandmother died at 87, she said that she had lived too long because she had outlived all of her friends and the people she grew up with. And so, there is that aspect of living so long. But although Jimmy Carter had a rough presidency, okay, he was handed a terrible situation when he walked into that presidency. And because he walked into such a bad situation, he had to know, let me tell you, no matter who won that election, the country was in trouble. Okay? We had, between Richard Nixon and Ford, okay, taking us off the gold standard, devaluing the dollar, doubling and tripling down in Vietnam, going into the drug wars, starting all these massive welfare programs. The country was way overstimulated. the Federal Reserve, just did the wrong thing, which they're still doing the wrong thing. And so by the time Jimmy took the presidency, his fate was sealed. And then as president, he made a lot of really doubled down on bad policies. The Department of Education, he helped create, with Iran, getting the hostages home. He didn't get that done. And so, he wasn't very strong with the Cold War. He made a lot of mistakes. And the thing I remember with Jimmy Carter was, and we seen it with Biden, where the government was blaming the greedy corporations. They were blaming you, the consumer, for high prices. They blamed the oil crisis on not having any oil. What really happened regarding the oil crisis wasn't that we were out of oil. Clearly, we are drowning in oil, right? We have so much oil, it's ridiculous. The problem was that when we went off the gold standard, the Middle East did not want our dollars. They wanted a lot more dollars for their oil, because don't forget, oil is a commodity. So when we were on a gold standard, you were basically trading one commodity for another, priced in gold. It was pegged. And then once we went off the gold standard, the Saudis and all the countries over there said, hey, Americans got to cough up more dollars, because here we're giving you a commodity and you're giving us paper. So what happened was prices went up. Inflation went up. The Federal Reserve started monetizing the debt. We started losing factories. Things started getting really bad. The one good thing that Jimmy Carter did as president was nominate Paul Volcker as head of the Federal Reserve. And it was Paul Volcker and Ronald Reagan that stopped inflation from going out of control. Because when Ronald Reagan took office, he leveled with the American people. See, this is the difference between Reagan and Trump, or Reagan and Biden, or Reagan and Bush, or Reagan and Obama. Reagan told the American people, hey, look, our country spent a lot of money, and we're going to feel some pain. But if we get through this, we'll come out better on the other side. America's got a new day if we could just get there. Reagan supported Paul Volcker allowing rates to go into the 22%. We couldn't do that today. We could never allow rates to go that high. Why? Because we are such a weaker country now. Look at us. We now have a fit. Look at Wall Street right now, down another few hundred points today. That's with a rate cut that just happened last week. Okay? We didn't even come close to the rates we had in the 70s. However, inflation now is way worse. As a matter of fact, since Carter left office, okay, we've lost 75% of our purchasing power. Okay? Think about that. Every dollar you have, you've lost 75 cents to the dollar. It's over 90 cents if you go to Nixon. So, will Trump, to fix inflation, allow rates to go that high? No, he's not going to allow that to happen. That's why We are headed for a dollar crisis, a sovereign debt crisis, because nobody wants to tackle the real issue, which is losing control of the dollar. So what they're going to try and do is keep asset prices inflated. That's what they're trying to do. And because they're trying to keep asset prices inflated, stocks, real estate, now crypto, they're going to keep trying to stimulate the economy. But what I want you to look at is when they stimulate the economy, like right now, the economy is being stimulated more now than it was when we were shut down with COVID. We are literally spending more money now in debt than we were then. Why? I mean, aren't people working? Don't people have something to do? Aren't we paying taxes? Why are they blowing through so much money? Because the interest on the debt is killing us. So now we're in a perpetual spiral of spending. When you're blowing through $1.5 trillion in just interest on the debt alone, almost double what you're spending on defense, okay, it's unsustainable. Like, I really hope Doge should get in there and cut some stuff. But let's say, and I don't believe they can hit this, they cut $1 trillion in spending per year. Well, if the interest on the debt is 1.5, right? You're basically spitting in the ocean. You're spitting in the ocean. See, you've got to really get in there and do the hard work of telling Americans, hey, the party's over. And there are ways to do it without crushing the little guy. Oh, I agree with you, Amy. Jimmy Carter was a beautiful man. As a person, first off, I believe he wasn't treated fairly by the press or politicians in both parties after he left. I think he was completely disrespected. If I was his son, and I know you're supposed to let it go when the person dies, but I'm sorry, there are people I don't want at my funeral. I'm sorry, no. If you use me like a pawn or a political weapon, and you insult me the way this guy was, don't come. Don't speak of my eulogy. Don't cry for me, right? Don't worry about it. Right? Because who needs that? Right? That's just being fake. Because you know what the politicians are going to do, Amy. They're going to line up now, talk about how wonderful he was and all this. Meanwhile, they were trashing him now for, God, he's been out of office 40 years. I wish more politicians acted like this guy out of office. And I wish they were one term. I don't like these multiple term people in office making a career. This man and his wife, I mean, what a beautiful couple. I mean, together for over 80 years, about 80 something years together, helping build homes for poor people, donating to people with medical issues, doing all sorts of charity. I thought he was such a good representative for the world, for our country, after he left after he left office. But even the media, I watched, I honestly, I can't even watch because the hypocrisy of these people, now that he's dead, all these fake memorials that they put on their shows, why did you tell him when he was alive? When my brother was murdered, I didn't wait till he was dead to tell him how much I loved him. I told him actually every day, including the day he was killed. Don't tell me after I'm gone. Tell me now, right? While I'm here. It means nothing when I'm gone, right? Especially if you're doing it for political purposes. So, I wanted to give thanks for Carter. I think he's a good lesson how young people should act on and off the field. I don't have to agree with Carter on the stuff that he did while in office, but I respect the man greatly for his work. I think all civil servants, right down to the janitor, can learn something from Jimmy Carter and his wife. How to treat each other. I mean, there were no scandals with them two. They weren't paying hookers and sleeping with their daughter in the shower like Joe Biden. Apparently, in her diary, that had to come out, allegedly. Yes. Yeah, right. 100%. You know, it's unfortunate that he couldn't be as good in office as he was out of. I mean, if he was that good in office as he was out, I mean, he would have gone down as a legend. But as a person outside of office, Ray, you're 100% right. I mean, just yeah, no, he really was. I mean, and people who know him personally, you know, they only had the best things to say about him. He wasn't a sexual deviant. He wasn't a cheater. He wasn't just a philanderer. He wasn't somebody who went around just looking to rip people off. I mean, just as a person, I mean, he wanted to help his fellow neighbor. And although he was misguided politically, he meant well. That's the difference between a Jimmy Carter Democrat and a Democrat today. See, a Democrat back when Jimmy Carter was president, I can deal with, because their intentions are just misguided, right? I mean, now, no, they don't like Western civilization now. It's completely different. Like, look at, like, yeah, I mean, you know, look at the Clintons, you know, right. I mean, you're right. I mean, the Clintons, you know, they have so many scandals, so much, and again, look at what they tried to do with healthcare. And now, in all fairness, now this is, you know, sometimes presidents get lucky, and where Bill Clinton got lucky was that the internet had taken off, and he had the .com bubble. And so it made Bill Clinton look like, wow, look at him. Look, he's creating all these jobs. But really what it wasn't government. You know, I'm so tired of people giving government credit for the job you created or that you go to, right? They're like, look, I created 5 million jobs. No, you didn't. We created the 5 million jobs. You know, actually, I'll go one step further. We create the jobs despite government, right? Because all government can do is ease a little bit of pressure off of you. That's all they can do, right? Because all government does is get in the way. Yeah, that's right, Amy. I mean, look, when you look at Jimmy Carter, right, like let's take the Department of Education. Now, again, it was made of good intention. Jimmy Carter's intention was good. But we know as conservatives, as free market capitalists, as libertarians, that whenever government gets involved, right, they destroy it. And look at what the Department of Education has done for education. Now, Ronald Reagan, the thing that he campaigned on was to remove the Department of Education. And the difference between Ronald Reagan and the Republicans today is Ronald Reagan actually believed in free market capitalism. He actually believed it, right? Which is a little different than what we have today. Today, they believe in populism. And when you think of populism, just think of popular. Whatever the people want, I'll tell you, right? And so, that's right. Ray, you nailed it. Amy and Ray, you guys are nailing it. The Democrats abandoned Carter. That's right. They absolutely abandoned the Carter type, the JFK type of Democrat. That whole era of Democrats, they don't even like them. Those Democrats aren't even allowed in today's Democratic Party. You know, I can remember as a kid filling envelopes and walking the streets of Brooklyn and Jersey City with my uncle trying to help local Democrats get elected. Because they were the working class. They were the ones that, you know, they weren't crazy with taxes. They weren't crazy with these socialist policies, right? And I always tell people, I didn't leave the Democrat Party. They left me. And then when I went to the Republican Party, again, this really opened my eyes. And if anybody's ever done it, have gone from one party, tried the other party, right? What I noticed was so many similarities in both parties that in order for me to defend a Republican the same way as a Democrat, the party, I'd have to lie. I'd have to lie and pretend like they are something that they're not, right? How do you say you're a conservative and create the TSA, right, where grandma's getting molested at the airport? How are you a conservative when you pass the Patriot Act? How are you a conservative when you go to war and don't declare a war, right? How are you a conservative when you run up debts that never end, right? Because, see, this is the problem, right? These people are adding government all the time, right? Think of government spending as government growing, right? So when they add to the deficit, they're adding government, okay? So that is why I said, man, these people are no different. And it really opened me up to the Libertarian Party, you know, being a libertarian. Thomas Sowell, right? Go check him out. This guy's brilliant. I had to go see him. He's wonderful. God rest his soul. Milton Friedman, people like this. Irwin Schiff, Peter Schiff, Ron Paul, the Ron Paul Revolution. And so they abandoned me. I didn't abandon them. They left me. Yes, Ray, you're 100% right. They laughed at Ron Paul. You're right, Ray. The Republicans, not only did they laugh at Ron Paul, they also rigged that election. When Ron Paul ran, the same thing that the Democrats did to RFK, they were doing to Ron Paul, right? Trying to keep him off the debates, kicking him off the ballots. I mean, they did everything to railroad Ron Paul. Then, at the same time, you got Bernie Sanders. This guy, he should have won. He should have beat Hillary. If it was a fair election, because I know everybody wants a fair election in both parties, Bernie Sanders would have won Oh, I believe he would have won by 10, 15 points against Hillary if it wasn't rigged. And here's the thing I don't understand about my Democrat friends. I wish they would come on and explain themselves. Explain why you stick with the party that stole your nominations, right? They stole the nomination from Bernie Sanders. They just did it again, right? They tried to force Kamala down your throat. You don't even like Kamala. Hey, Ray, you mentioned Adam Smith. Guess what's on my desk? Check it out. You know, read this. People, read this. This is the founding of capitalism. You read this, you're going to be changed. It will change your life, teach your kids the wealth of nations. You are not going to find this in a public school. You're just not. You know, their economics is give me more, right? Give me more. You know, this doesn't have a free lunch, right? You won't see this on a Republican or Democrat desk, you know. Yeah, that's right. Look, I remember, and I hope everybody remembers Occupy Wall Street. Because I was in New York at the time. Matter of fact, I was just moving to South Carolina during that time. Because I moved in 2007, right before the crash, but I was kind of like in between. And I remember going down to Zuccotti Park in downtown Manhattan, just blocks from right there, Wall Street. And I remember trying to tell those people down there back then that they're angry at the wrong people. Yes, Wall Street spent like drunken sailors and they gambled with your money and they lost, right? They gambled and they lost. What they should have been mad at wasn't the fact that Wall Street collected those free tax dollars from us. They should have been mad that Congress gave them the tax dollars, right? To stop, you got to remember, Bush was leaving office, Obama was coming in. What did Bush and Obama do? They came together with TARP. It was called TARP. And that piece of garbage bailed out the banks, all the subprime loans and everything, Fannie, Freddie. I remember Ford didn't want the money, but GM forced them. Congress forced them to take free government money. This was Republicans. Republicans and Democrats were forcing Ford to take money that they didn't need. Why didn't Ford need the money? Because they saved. They were responsible. It was GM that should have went under. You know? Yeah, again, Congress, this is the thing. And now the problem, Ray, and everybody, is so much bigger because we bailed everybody out back then, and then we did it again with COVID, right? I remember a lot of my financial friends received, what was it called? The PPP money. Remember PPP money? Where they were like pissing away our money, excuse my language, but that's what they were doing. You know who got a lot of the money? Hedge fund guys, Wall Street guys, money guys, big money guys, right? Now, I think if you are managing people's money, you should have had a rainy day fund, right? But again, you know, whenever the government does this, there are going to be people who take advantage of it. So now what we have done is we have set up a situation where we have so much gambling going on in Wall Street, the housing market, crypto now is the next big bubble. All these bubbles are forming everywhere. And why don't people care? Because they know daddy government is coming is coming to bail them out. You know, when there's no consequences, right? If you can win, whether if you win or lose, right? Just bet. Put all your money in equities. Who cares? They're going to bail you out. Well, not you, the corporate masters, right? Because you're not going to get... See, when it hits the fan, because although you got your measly $600 or whatever, like for the individual person got with COVID, it was the corporations that raked in the big bucks. Oh, and don't forget, it was government, both parties, that created essential and non-essential jobs. So you're already on the record of being non-essential, right? That was another thing that us libertarians were screaming about during COVID. That was completely ridiculous. Who decides what's essential or not essential? Well, apparently the government. Yeah, I mean, look. So I remember telling those people down in Zuccotti Park, you guys are mad at the wrong people. You need to go down to D.C. We need to protest those D.C. Protest the politicians for being bought and sold by the corporate masters, Wall Street, the War Department, right? Yeah, these people need to be held accountable. They need to go to jail. And it was, and this is where Bernie Sanders and Ron Paul were so right. On this issue, they were right. And now I look at the economy, and we are headed for real financial problems. And because we did not learn our lessons from last time, we are doomed to repeat them again. And, you know, so it's really important that we educate each other. Yeah, they are great BS artists. Don't forget. We have to understand something. Most politicians come from the background of being attorneys, right? And the number one thing to be successful in order to be an attorney is to lie for your client, right? If you want to win, you got to lie for the client, right? Because you're constantly getting your client, like, you know, even if you know the person's guilty, you still go up there and, oh, he's just a young man, you know, blah, blah, blah. He didn't know what he was doing. He knew what he was doing, right? So they start out as attorneys, and then they go into politics. Those roots are in the politicians. And just like our court system is rigged, right? We all know the court system's rigged. And they go into politics, and then politics is rigged. That's why I don't want to become a politician. I have people all the time. Bones, run. Bones, run. You know, I want to do more on the outside. I'm just afraid of going in and allowing myself. I can't prostitute myself like that. But that's right, Amy. You know, look. You know, this is the thing, is that they keep issuing new money, printing new money, sending it out, giving it to every group that they can, right? Look, it's like, you know, when Biden says, hey, I'm going to give something to some group, you know, now that group becomes beholden to Biden. Just like when Trump gives out money to some group. Like I heard, like a big one, you know, is like, oh, Trump will say, oh, I gave money to the farmers. No, you didn't. I gave money to the farmers. And where did the money come from? From extra taxes, extra tariffs that we have to pay the tax. Oh, thank you so much, Amy. I appreciate that. You know, I think I'm going to help other people run. I think I'd be a good manager for people. I've helped some people run for office locally. I helped a mayor get elected, and a couple of city council people get elected. So, I feel like I would do better in that space, because if I become a politician, that's going to eat. It just, for me, I kind of take the Milton Friedman answer to this and say I enjoy my personal freedoms. And once I commit to being a politician, it kind of goes against other parts of me. So right now it's not for me, but I can't rule it out in the future. But speaking of Joe Biden, Joe Biden snuck in one last vacation before his permanent retirement in 3 weeks. Guess where he went? Joe Biden went to St. Croix. But don't worry, you get the bill. And Joe Biden goes to St. Croix. And, does he have to go on vacation? Like you're going to retire for the rest of your life, right? Nobody's going to hire you for anything. You're never going to speak anywhere, right? Because you go around mumbling, right? There's no reason for Joe Biden anymore. He's done, right? His expiration is coming up quick. And this guy, who has taken a ton of vacations, which is now the thing that presidents do now, goes to St. Croix, spends millions of dollars that we don't have. What was that? Wait, let me see. What Italy supposed to do? Are you kidding me? He's going to Italy too? Oh my God. To see the Pope? Oh, jeez. You can't make this stuff up. You just can't. I just got that information. I appreciate that, Amy. Going to St. Croix. Now I hear going to Italy. Why don't you just go around the world? Go to Tahiti. Go to the Maldives. Go, go wherever. This is the problem with government. If they had to pay for that trip, the Bidens, right, they would not take it. That's the fact. But because you're paying for it, they have no problem going around the world, right? And, and I'm sick of Congress. We got to pay for Congress's travels. We got to pay for their incidentals, right? We even pay for their postage, for God's sake. How ridiculous is that? You can't buy a stamp, And, it's absolutely disgusting. The one integrity move that Trump has is that Trump at least says, hey, I'm going to take my check and I'll donate it to somewhere, and I think that's nice. But Trump, it just, the whole thing is disgusting with this Joe Biden and all of this. The 20th cannot come quick enough, but what I fear is the economy coming down in the future. Does anybody have any questions or anything? Maybe Biden will get lost in Italy. Well, it's too late because, maybe I'll get lost in Italy. I don't know if anybody's ever been to Italy. It's a nice place. If you're going to get lost in Italy. It's not bad. And it's perfect because it's all socialist over there. And Biden should like it, But we have to understand that the reason why Italy, Germany, all these European countries get to have free health care and all of this is because our men and women are over there protecting them. Basically, it's our military that gives them the freedoms that they have. And how do they repay us? By not supporting us when we're in need. By not, maybe Italy, hell, we bailed them out. Why did they forgive our debts? Say, hey, you bailed us out in World War II, and won. basically rebuilt their whole country. Hey, you know what we'll do? We'll forgive your debt. Wouldn't that be nice? What about Germany, France, Italy, Spain, all of them, right? Why don't they say, hey, you know what, America, you guys really stepped up and helped us, and now we're doing good. We forgive your debt. Send your boys and girls home. We're going to start to protect ourselves. We can handle it now. No, they're not doing that. The Europeans, they got two hands in each pocket, right? They want more of our government. And here's the sad part. The politicians in both parties are willing to give it, right? Because there's so much money in the Defense Department, the Pentagon, being wasted. And the politicians, like look at Nikki Haley. Here's a beauty, right? She was the governor of my state. And what she did was she used corporate welfare to get Boeing to build a big factory down in Charleston. Massive. And I remember Bernie Sanders actually was running against this one thing because he's like, hey, what, you can't Boeing, why do the people of South Carolina have to pay for this facility? And Bernie was right. It was a lot of corporate welfare we paid. And Nikki Haley goes into politics, goes and becomes ambassador for Trump. And then the second she leaves the Trump administration, guess where she goes? Guess where Nikki Haley goes? She's on the board of Boeing. You cannot make this up, right? So you don't think there's a conflict of interest here? Here you have a company, and she steals my tax dollars, my fellow countrymen's tax dollars in my state, to give to her corporate masters, Boeing, to then turn around after she awards them billions of dollars through the government and ends up on the board. If that's not a conflict of interest, I don't know what is. Let's see. Nikki is a traitor. She went ahead. She spoke bad about my Trump. And then all of a sudden, at the Republican convention, she said she's going to endorse him as soon as Harris. Yeah. Hey, Donna. Donna. Hey, how you doing, hon? Yeah, Amy. Look. Nikki Haley is what you call a transactional politician. She will be everything to everyone. She is a whore for the corporate media. She's a whore for the corporations. She's a whore for the military-industrial complex, right? They probably pass her around like a bag of chips, to be honest with you, because they got her number. She is paid for, right? Like most politicians in office, okay? And, and this is the thing. Fox News will have her on. They don't say anything about this stuff. You go on CNN, the same thing. She can, literally, Nikki Haley can go in the same day from CNN to Fox News and get a beautiful story for her. No pushback. No, nothing. Why? Why doesn't Nikki Haley get any pushback from these people? Kind of like Liz Cheney. Why not? She could go from one... Well, because they're all part of the corrupt system, right? As long as you keep doing what they want you to do, you're going to be taken care of. You're going to be very wealthy. Nikki Haley made a lot of money going into politics and being corrupt. And, this is the story for a lot of people, and I'm sorry. I'm not for personal welfare, and I'm not for corporate welfare, and I'm not for bank welfare. And yeah, no, Amy, no, she's definitely not. Look, well, See, you gotta, okay. Nikki Haley is not a Ronald Reagan Republican. Very few Republicans are today. It's probably maybe 30%, maybe less, are actual like Republican, Ronald Reagan Republicans, where they believe in fiscal conservatism, limited government, you know, believe in sound money, sound economic principles. It's a very small group. Nikki Haley fits in today's Republican Party for the corporate wing, the defense wing. Like, that's her, you know, she's for the corporate masters and defense. That's her wing. And so, yeah, she'll never win a big platform again. She's limited herself. But she does not believe in the principles of traditional Republicans. Okay? You know, like, if you look at the budget that was just passed, okay, over 70% of Republicans voted for that piece of trash. So and the people that didn't, they have more of the libertarian in them. They believe in limited government. You know, they're willing to shut down the government to cut money, to cut spending, right? To stop costing you money. So there's only about 30% left of those type of Republicans. And I support those Republicans because there is too much spending. Can anybody tell me, wasn't this election about cutting government? Wasn't it about... Yeah, Anthony, I agree. Milei from Argentina, he would be great. God bless him. I absolutely love that guy. Gets in there. He runs on cutting government. He runs on these principles. Adam Smith, right? These are the principles that he ran on in Argentina, for God's sake, right? And then he actually got in and did it. He actually cut government. He cut all the social programs, okay? And now his country is becoming prosperous again, right? That's what we need. We need people to actually do the job. I mean, no offense to Elon and Vivek, no offense to Doge. But if Trump is strong, like, Trump's not a dumb guy, let's be honest. If you get a budget on your desk, and it doesn't have cuts in that spending, veto the damn thing. You have a pen. We gave you the pen. Right? So Trump can cut spending. He doesn't need this. But, look, we'll take all the help we can get. If Elon and Vivek can go to Congress and talk these people into cutting government, then it's worth it. That's great. But at the end of the day, Trump has to use his pen. Now, I want to put something into perspective. When Trump was president, he had the least amount of vetoes, only second to Herbert Hoover. Now, what that means is he was just signing the bills also, right? He wasn't telling government, hey, I'm not going to sign this unless you know. He only did it once. The only time he really fought for a bill was with the wall, which was the right thing to do. That was right. He's like, hey, give me some spending here to build a wall. You know, this is what the people voted for. But when it came to everything else, you know, he was a rubber stamp, to be honest. You know, let's be honest. And the reason why Trump allowed the spending to happen is because he was afraid of popping all the asset bubbles, right? He didn't want to prick the Wall Street. He didn't want to prick the housing market, right? He didn't want to prick the bond market. So he signed the bills. And mind you, we had a Republican Congress for 2 years. He had all three branches. But this time, the people voted directly for cutting government. People want lower prices this time. So it's a little different this time. My hope, everybody, is that Trump goes in there, does the right thing this time. And if he does the right thing, I said it 100 times, he will come down as the greatest president of our lifetime. If Elon and Vivek can talk those crooks in D.C. into doing the right thing, mission accomplished. That would be mission accomplished. But will that happen? Well, we'll have to see. But I can promise everybody here that I'm going to call balls and strikes exactly how I see it. I'm not going to play favorite to one side or the other. I'm not going to lie just to like make a friend or a view or a post or a comment or, we have to tell it like it is, right? We have to have some integrity, right? There are economists that I grew up with, that I went to school with, that you see on TV. They have completely sold out. They have completely lied. Look at Maria Bartiromo. Here's a woman, I used to love her on Fox. She's on Fox Business now. Back when they had John Stossel on. He had to get rid of Stossel. He was too libertarian for Fox. But Maria Bartiromo used to be on there. She knows economics. She is not a dumb woman. She knows. But in order for her to work for Fox, she has to play the Republican card. She's got no choice. So she has to give up on these principles right here. She's got to give up on these. Just as many other icons that I used to look up to have given up on free market capitalism, sound money, sound economic principles, less government, get the government out of our life type principles, right? We're not saying no government, right? I like a stop sign, and I like, roads, okay? But what I don't want is government literally in my life for every little thing that I do. Okay? If I want to build a deck in my backyard, let me do it. It's mine. Right? If I want to take my son out and teach him how to drive, I want to do that. And I don't want to ask your permission. If I want to take him hunting, that's what I want to do. Get out of my life. Don't be a control pervert. It's just like, just because I practice my freedoms one way and you practice your freedoms one way, don't mean we have to agree on that. But I'm not going to stop you if I don't agree with you on living your freedoms. Maybe you like to live a certain way that I don't agree with. Okay? Unless you are affecting my life to live freely, or the life of somebody else to live freely, leave us alone, right? We leave each other alone. The problem in America today, too many Americans are trying to tell other Americans how to live. And that needs to stop, right? But the worst than that is government telling you how to live. So we want government out of our life. Hey, here's a Bobby Bones rule. If it's not in the Constitution, we shouldn't do it. Okay? So just remember that. Everything the government does, ask yourself, is that in the Constitution? And if it's not, we shouldn't do it. So, I pray for Trump's success as well, Amy. Like I said, he could go down as the greatest president of all time if he does the right thing. I don't know if he's going to do the right thing, but time will tell. He's not in yet. We got to give him a chance. And I will. Now, I'm honest with people. I supported Trump up until he proved me wrong in the first term. Okay? And when he was wrong, I went after him. When I thought he did something wrong, I went after him. And I'll do it again. Because again, you don't vote for who you like personally, right? Like I like Carter, but I wouldn't want him to be president, right? As a person, Carter's great, right? But you vote for good government. So if Congress and Trump give us good government, I'm all in. If Congress tries to give us bad government and Trump uses his pen and says, no, we're not doing this, I'll support Trump all day. But if he just goes along with it, no, we can't have that. We can't afford it anymore. Credit card debt just came out, and we are hitting all-time record highs in credit card debt. And the reason for that is because people are struggling. And now you have the Federal Reserve admitting that we're going to have high inflation now for the next 2 years. And so, look, things are going to get a little worse. And I wish Trump would come out and say that. Hey, things are going to get a little worse. So people can prepare, right? So, look, I appreciate everybody coming out and hanging with me. And everybody really, look, let's go out there, spread the word of freedom, spread the Adam Smith type principles of economics, right? And if I fail, then I fail. You shouldn't pay for my failure. Well, if that's true for me, it's true for you. It's true for our corporate gods. It's true for the politicians, right? We fail on our own, and we stand on our own. And that's what we should be doing. I love and respect everybody. Like, share, subscribe, comment. Please get the word out, okay? You know, I try to give... there are links in the description to my YouTube. Go check it out. You know, I'm going to be traveling for the next couple of days. So I'm going to Myrtle Beach. And so I'm going to try and do a couple of live shows out there. I'm going to do one tomorrow out there. I might do kind of a smaller clip or something because of traveling and stuff. But I'll definitely be on for a little bit. And I look forward to you guys. Look, if anybody has a topic that you want me to go over, please put it in the comments. I'll check it. And we can go over those topics. And what I'd like to do is, what I'd like to do is create like a, whip a question out Wednesday. So basically what I'd like is, like, let's say we have a bunch of topics, and then, like, maybe on Wednesdays we go over all your topics, the things that you want to go over. So whip them out topics Wednesday. I'd like to try that. So look, I appreciate everybody. I love everybody. God loves you. Your family loves you. We are your family. Have a great night. Like, share, subscribe. And I'll see you on the next one. Thank you. God bless.